Before the Iron Crown was written, there was a Mythica film script, which was of a race to get an anti-magic device to save a village of dwarves, and Zorlok was involved, but it was a really fun script. As we saw Mythica 3 come together, the Necromancer, it was so dark, so many dark things kind of had happened, and the characters had matured so much that the adventure aspect of that script didn't quite fit anymore for the characters, but the tension in the race and the excitement of this race did work, and by replacing this anti-magic device with the central object, of course, being a piece of the Darkspore, as that's the direction the story had gone. So we adapted a script that had been written earlier to this new format. Still had a race, still had a super team of sort of antagonistic others trying to get the same object, but really a very different script.
Mythica 1, 2, and 3, we had Anne Black direct the first and second movies, and A. Todd Smith had shot them. And then he directed the third movie. We brought in John Light, who we had worked with a lot before. He did Shadow Cabal with us. He did Christmas Dragon. His fun action style fitted really well with where we wanted to take Mythica 4. It's fun to work with different directors and get their input in the series. And John is not completely new to Mythica, of course. He actually directed a lot of the second unit stuff on Mythica 2.
There was a script for a part 3 of Mythica that wasn't used, that I really, really liked. And I said, if we can do that script, but then adjust it to where the series is going, I'd be very interested. Because that script was very fun, and it just jumped right into the story, which is what I liked. One benefit for me coming into part 4 was that the world had already been established, and the characters had already been established. But at the same time, Jason and Kynan had a story arc of where the characters were going. That was very fun for me to come in and take those characters where they were at, and then continue them on this journey.
I think the lightness and the fun and the constant high-octane action of the Iron Crown was an important transition from that sort of very dark place we'd gone to in the third film. I think that was key to have that juxtaposition of these two things.
I was really conscious of how to introduce the characters and show where they were at now. Jason and I talked about, like with Merrick's character, we wanted it to be a lot like Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, where he's now a Jedi, he has powers, he's figured things out. And the same thing with Merrick, because we wanted to elevate her to, higher status to where she was in her magic, with her physical skills. And also with Thane, that was a big thing. In the original version of the script, Thane was this typically blundering, always getting injured, he's supposed to be the big tank warrior, but he wasn't actually doing much damage. And so that's what we really focused on, was making sure that Thane was awesome in this. And as you can see, his armor, if you can see it in frame, I don't know. Yes, there we go. David Powell did an amazing job creating this armor. I wanted Dagon's character to pop out of the grass and firing an arrow and hitting his mark. And then when Thane fights in the opening sequence, he hits his mark. He's pretty brutal and rough and knows how to defend himself. But of course he gets shot with an arrow at one point, and injured, so it's your typical thing.
In the third film, in The Necromancer, we have something happening between Merrick and Teela. Merrick takes her life force into herself and uses it to sort of defeat Zorlok for the moment. Kind of metaphysically a mystery, what happened there exactly. Teela gives her life force, which is different from other necromancy actions that Merrick had taken where she steals life force. So this was freely given. And so it's sort of a different thing going on, but what exactly happens in that situation? And so in the Iron Crown, we have some part of Teela now has been channeled into Merrick and is trapped there and is stuck there. And so we have this mystery of something's going on inside Merrick. She's got a weird voice in her. There's something weird going on, and we discover pretty quickly that Teela is somehow inside her. And Thane's character, of course, becomes obsessed with this notion that Teela's not entirely gone. Part of this film becomes this quest to deliver the Darkspore to the goddess for it to be safe at this temple. Another part of this, a whole other thread of it, is Thane's quest to get Teela back. We have this idea of bits of people being stuck in one another, and that becomes a motif in this series. When necromancy takes place, you're sucking their life force into yourself, but that can change you, and that can have an effect on you. That piece resides in you, and so of all these times as Merrick is drawing in life force from these things, bits and pieces of those people are kind of in her. It's subtle, and it's played out subtly in the script, but that's something that is carried forward in the script for the fifth that was taken into consideration, and that effect of necromancy has some interesting repercussions.